On Flog are journeys back into time. Items like Edwardian, Victorian and even Georgian items. But collectibles from the Jurassic period, almost 200 million years ago. Now, most collectors go about finding their items by digging around antique shops, bric-a-brac shops or auction rooms just like this one. But there are not many collectors who wander around wrapped up from the cold with a big hammer in one hand and a stick in the other, searching the shorelines and literally digging their items from the ground and then chiseling them from the stone. We are talking fossils. Now, just look at this. I've come to Lyme Regis in Dorset to find out more about the collection, which doesn't cost you anything to get started. And I'm going to meet up with collector and guide Colin Dawes, who hopefully is going to help me relive my childhood and help me find some fossils of my own. So, Colin, why Lyme Regis? Why is Lyme Regis the best place to come and hunt for fossils?
Well, Paul, just behind you, you'll see some grey cliffs, and they're grey because originally they were sediments laid down in a very muddy sea 200 million years ago at the beginning of the Jurassic period. And the dinosaurs on the land, marine creatures got trapped in the mud, and they come out onto the beaches. How
do you go about looking for fossils? What do you do? I know you've got a big hammer.
Yes. OK, the best thing we need to do is to use our eyes rather than a hammer, certainly at this stage. The best fossils are usually loose on the beach.
Know what you're looking for?
That's it.
So what are we looking for?
With a bit of luck, we're going to find an ammonite or two. These were shellfish that had tentacles sticking out, and just like the modern-day octopus or squid, but they all went out with the dinosaurs. And the ones we get around here, because they're very, very ancient.
I'm so excited. Shall we get digging? You never know. Okay. We might find a dinosaur and become famous overnight.
You never know.
Let's get digging.
OK, then let's do that, Paul. Move around a bit here, look.
There's one.
Down there. Look. That's a beauty.
Oh, that's pretty.
That's a squash brachiopod.
And this is from the Jurassic period?
This is, yes, it's 200 million years old.
Is that going to be a keeper?
I think it would be a good gift for yourself.
Can I have that?
You can
really?
have that,
As a souvenir?
Yes. You can go with your antiques or whatever you've got.
Fantastic. It reminds me of the little tale. How's it go? She sells seashells sitting on the seashore. What's that all about?
Oh, yes, the poet who wrote those lines is supposed to have been referring to a lady called Mary Anning, a very, very famous fossil hunter who lived in Lyme Regis from a poor background, but she did make a living out of finding fossils. She did very well. She lived in the early part of the 19th century. In fact, she was born in 1799 and died in 1847. And she is reputed to have found with her brother at any rate, the very first ichthyosaurus. And a few other nice finds too.
Wow.
The first complete plesiosaurus, the sort of Loch Ness monster job when it's got the flesh on, you know. and in particular, a flying reptile, a pterosaur, the very first British complete specimen.
Are we allowed to do this?
Well, there's a code of conduct or a code of practice.
Could we take this off the beach?
Oh, yes, yes. And in fact, if you found a really good fossil in there, it would be a pity to leave it on the beach, because the sea's going to get it, Neptune's going to... stuff comes out, that's it. It's a good thing to retain the fossils. Nobody's going to want you not to, as it were.
Right, OK.
What we don't want people to do, really, is to break open the large boulders with the impressions of big ammonites in, because really they're not collectible fossils as such. They're part of the stone. Yeah. The shell's being replaced.
And we should leave them.
You couldn't get them out. You should leave those alone, I think.
Right,
yes.
Okay. Wow, lovely. OK, well, hang on to that. Let's go and find some more, shall we? You can find some quite amazing fossils on the beach. Shop owner and collector Simon Tichenor is going to show me literally what you can unearth. His shop's filled with thousands of fossils of all shapes and sizes. But first, I wondered which sorts of fossils would be found here locally in Lyme Regis.
The easiest things to find are the Promycosaurus, which is here. They're the most sort of common ammonite that anyone would find if they came down.
What do you do? Do you actually shellac them or just polish them to give them some more definition and colour?
There's a slight lacquer that we put on it to protect it and to bring a little bit more colour out, but the colour itself is actually natural. That's what
you just enhance it.
Yeah.
This one's lost its definition, but it's got something about it. It's got character and wear, which is what you'd expect.
It always adds to the value if it's a genuine piece. It hasn't been repaired or it hasn't been messed about with.
And how much would that retail at?
That would be about £1,400.
Right. And I think that's worth it. That looks very decorative. The bird looks interesting.
This is probably one of our most rare fossils in the shop. Any fossil that flies, any animal that flies has very light structure to its body, hollow bones, so it's very, very difficult for it to actually get underground and be fossilized in one piece.
Yeah.
So to find a complete bird is very rare.
How much is that, dare I ask?
Birds are very expensive. They range from sort of £15,000 to £20,000 for a single one.
Gosh, that's a lot of money. OK, what's the quirkiest, then, the most unusual?
The most unusual is probably these, the dinosaur eggs. To the untrained eye, they don't really look like anything, but they're sauropod eggs from China. Just a long-necked dinosaur.
How can you tell, though, they were dinosaur eggs?
Every person that collects a dinosaur egg will have them x-rayed to check what's in them, because sometimes you're really lucky. You'll get an embryo inside.
Inside?
Yeah.
Have you had those checked?
They've all been checked, yeah.
That would probably quadruple the value.
It would, yeah.
I'm a big wood fanatic, and I know this is a bit of wood, isn't it? Because I can see annular rings here, look, the cellular-like growth, and that's its bark. But I couldn't tell you what tree's that. What is it?
That's an Araucaria, which is the modern-day monkey puzzle tree. That particular piece is from Madagascar.
And how much?
That one's about £300.
Now, I'm pleased you've got some amber here, because I'd like you to clear up a couple of points about amber, because it has to be a certain age before you can actually say it's amber.
Yeah. Amber should be over 2 million years old before it can be classed as amber.
So tell me, how did that grasshopper end up inside the amber?
The amber started life as a tree resin on a pine tree. When it got damaged, the resin came out. It had a very sweet sort of smell to it, and it was sticky, and the insects were attracted to it, almost like honey.
So it's basically the sap bleeding out and healing the wound of the tree. Now, there's a few tips and tests you can do on amber to tell if it's the real thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake amber about, so you need to, you know, have a little trick up your sleeve. Amber will float in salt water, whereas a petrol substitute like plastic will sink. Amber has a very sort of fine density to it. Any amber will also have lots of other organic matter stuck in around the main insect or the main piece you're looking at, you know. You very, very rarely find a completely clear piece of amber. There are some out there, but they're rare to see.
Now, we also have some dinosaur poo, don't we?
We do, yeah.
How can you spot dinosaur poo? Which
Well, it
is
looks
the dinosaur?
reasonably similar to modern day. That's called coprolite. This one in particular is from a turtle.
How can you tell that's from a turtle?
There's a lot of analysis which scientists do on all the coprolites, but you can tell with the actual structure of it, the shape of it, and what's inside it as well. They analyse it all.
So how much would this cost?
That would be around about the £5 mark.
£5 for something that's over 60 million years old. Now that's a bargain. Well, they do say that poo is fossil fuel. If you'd like to know more about antiques and collectibles, then why not log on to our BBC Antiques website at bbc.co.uk/antiques. Back at the Bournemouth International Centre, things are hotting up. The sun has come out for Nigel and he's found a porcelain plaque.
So, Sue, you brought this wonderful picture. What can you tell me about it?
Well, originally it was in a family friend's house, set in the back of a sideboard. And then when they sold the sideboard, it was taken out and framed. And then when she was an old spinster lady, and when she died, my mother bought it from the estate for my father.
And how long ago was that?
That was about 40 or 50 years ago.
Do you remember what she paid for it?
£25.
£25, right. So what you've got here is a porcelain plaque made in Berlin, and it's hard paste porcelain. I suspect it's outside decorated, so the blank would have been made at the Berlin factory, and it's been signed here by F. Dietrich, and I think that's probably one of the Vienna decorators. She's this wonderful sort of raven-haired beauty, isn't she, with these sort of wonderful chocolate brown eyes. Let's have a look at the back. On the back here, we've got the all-important impressed KPM mark and the sceptre for the Berlin factory. That's on the porcelain blank. There's some incise numbers here that might be mould or pattern numbers. And then you've got some script here, which I can't quite make out. Maybe we'll ask the viewers to write in to the website and translate that for us. It's quite a beautiful thing. Have you any idea about price?
I think round about £1,500, £2,000.
Yes. Well, I think that could be quite a strong, you know, I think that's quite enough, really. But we could try it with a £1,500 reserve.
Okay.
We might get it away, we might make a bit more, you never know. But if you're adamant you want £1,500, let's try
Well,
it.
I'd rather keep it if it's...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've not lost anything,
Exactly.
really, have you?
No.
So assuming we get you £1,500 plus for it, what are you going to do with all that money? Quite a sum, if it sells.
Well, my plan for this next year is to hopefully pack up work, and that will buy me a computer.
And why have you decided to sell it now?
The real reason is that, again, looking to the future, I will probably move house, and I've got an awful lot of extra bits and pieces that would have to go anyway.
It's a great quality piece.